I'm going to do a watercolour version of the Blossfeldt Seedpod today. So I'm starting off with my lightest colour, which is going to be my yellow watercolour. Just going to have a quick look to see where I need to put the lightest bits. So I'm going to look at my photocopy. So you can see on the left hand side is where my lightest tones are going to go. So that's where I'm going to put my yellow. So trying to use lovely smooth movements, because remember that watercolour is transparent. So the more brush marks you make, the more brush marks you're going to see. So you always want to try to work in nice sweeping movements and try to control where the edge of the paintbrush goes. So you'll see that I'm sweeping the brush down rather than doing lots of tiny little feathery movements. I'm going mostly in one direction as well. Not going backwards and forwards. I'm not cleaning brushing my teeth. I'm just putting the paint on in a nice smooth action. So now I'm going to mix a more orange tone. So I'm going to mix my red and yellow to create the orange that I need. Mixing it all in a mixing palette. And then again, you can see the brush marks much more clearly with this colour. So what I'm trying to do is to minimise the amount of overlap that I'm getting. So I'm really trying to minimise the amount of lines I can see by just trying to keep my movements nice and long and smooth. You are going to see some lines. You're never going to get it looking absolutely flat, not with this type of paint. But the less sort of going backwards and forwards you can do with your brush, the better the result's going to be. So this is going to be my mid-tone. It's not my lightest tone, it's not my darkest tone, it's my in-betweeny. Okay, so now I'm coming in with some darker tone colour. So I'm going for my red, which is my slightly darker colour. And I'm just putting that where I can see it on the seed pod. So where I can see that dark grey on the photocopy is where I'm putting the darker red. So again, just trying to draw in, trying not to overpaint where I know that the lightest tone is on the right hand side. Just trying again to use a confident brush stroke. And if when you're doing this technique, if you're not confident with, creating a smooth line, practice on a piece of paper first. Okay, just get a scrap of paper and have a practice just drawing lines with your paintbrush. You soon will become, much more confident. So here I'm trying to soften those two colours into each other by adding a little bit of orange, and then I take a little bit of water on my brush. I'm smoothing those colours into each other just to create that sort of nice blend of colours. And again, painting the middle of that bit because it's slightly lighter with my orange. So now I want to add in the darker tones on the light side. So I'm mixing a bit of orange, a bit more orange, but a slightly lighter orange this time. And I'm just trying again to keep that yellow line in the middle. That's that little light, the light bit on the seed pod. So trying to just slightly darken up that yellow because I want to lose some of that really bright yellow. Just want to get that tone to go slightly darker in certain areas. Now just taking that pale orange colour across the seed pod. I think you can see how you can really see yellow is always going to be a very transparent colour just because of the way the pigment is. So it's never going to be perfectly smooth, but we're just going to try not to get it looking too patchy. And then again, slightly darkening up that side of the leaf. Picking up some orange off the paint and just going in again to slightly darken up that yellow. And now going in with a very cool red, and this is going to give me a nice, an even darker red for the really dark bits. So this is going to be my darkest tone on my seed pod. So I'm literally only putting this where I can see black on the original image. And notice that I keep referring to the original. I'm not making anything up, I'm just putting the same tones where I can see them. I'm drying off my brush, picking up some yellow, and then just softening that red with that yellow. Drawing in the darker lines. And then using the tip of my brush just to get the tips of the seed pod painted in as well. Notice that when I'm drawing with the tip of the brush, I'm getting a much finer line. And I'm leaning on my little finger. So just painting to make this area a little bit darker. Putting in a little bit of detail. Nearly finished. Okay, I've cleaned the yellow because it was a little bit dirty, and now I'm trying to blend out my orange and yellow into each other using just the yellow paint, just to soften that effect. I'm nearly there now. Quite happy with that. Just adding the final details and then I'll be done.